don't you all look lovely? This is your top 5 outfits in rainbow order. You're looking lovely. Okay, ladies, you've done a fantastic job. Give yourselves a round of applause. Judges, also, you can applaud now. You can applaud now. Okay, the judges' scores have been tabulated. I have a top 5 here in random order. My first name on the list is candidate number 3, Alivia Roberts. Candidate number 5, Judy Mabone. Candidate number 7, Hannah Menzner. Candidate number 8, Andolyn Medina. And candidate number 11, Aubrey Grasz. This is your top 5. Ladies, congratulations, you did an incredible job. Thank you so much. Okay, ladies, have a seat. Okay, now we have this totally normal, casual conversation that I have questions prepared for. So I'm going to ask you a question about your platform, and then after that, after everybody has their question, we'll have a little chit-chat about DC things. So I'm going to start with Alivia, because you're sitting right here. Okay, with 63% of women in the world reporting they've never had a formal mentor, there is a need for someone to stand up to guide girls and young women on the path to achieve their dreams. What would you tell a potential mentor who feels inadequate that they are not only needed, but that they have something to offer these girls?
Yes, 67% have said that having a mentor has helped excel them in their careers. And I think it's really important that we help them realize that they have to be determined, they have to be responsible, they have to strive for excellence, and they have to work to achieve this point of excellence. And I think that it's so important that we instill these values in them so that they are able to dig deep from down and understand truly what their value is and that they're worthy. And that's what I intend to do as Miss DC as I promote my social impact initiative, The Dream Impact, all across the District of Columbia, as well as nationally through my national partnerships with Girl Scouts of the USA.
Thank you so much. Jude, sudden cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death among student athletes. Because of their conditioning and overall good health in general, this may come as a surprise to many young athletes. As someone who is in great health, yet has suffered a heart attack at a young age, how would you implore coaches at the high school and collegiate levels to be mindful of the risk of sudden cardiac arrest and implement strategies to recognize the signs and symptoms?
Yes. I was 16 years old when I had my first heart attack, and between the ages of 16 and 18, I had 5 more, so 6 total. And I was young and healthy, and I still am, but the most important thing we can do is check our hearts. You go to the dentist, you get your teeth checked. Schedule your kids for an EKG, for an echocardiogram. Both are painless tests, and they're available to everyone and paid for by insurance. I've actually worked with American University to help explore this initiative, and a lot of the student athletes here at this Division I institution, where I'm an alumnus of, have gotten their hearts checked because of the conversations I've had with the Director of Athletics, and actually with the NCAA president himself, Mr. Mark Emmert. I spoke with him as a senior and implored him how important it is that we take this matter seriously. So just having those conversations and making these screenings available for free are 2 really great ways that we can check these hearts and save these athletes' lives. Thank you.
Andolyn, many parents and their children are unaware of the risks and are unable to recognize the tactics used by child predators. Legislation is needed to punish those who prey on children. How would you prepare those victims to take on bringing about those changes?
So one of the things that I've been able to do as a volunteer for Fair Girls is provide webinar services. And it was amazing that even in this pandemic, instead of us just working for the District of Columbia, we found that we were able to expand through our webinar series globally. And through that, we were able to educate parents, kids, teachers, the whole education system about signs to look out for. Part of what we know about human trafficking is that it does not discriminate, but we also know that the same things that can be vulnerable and exploitative in everyday society also make way for a person to be a victim in human trafficking. And so it's a twofold series of not only educating and providing that awareness and that outreach, but also having an honest conversation about the socio-political and cultural things affecting our nation and how they also impact human trafficking victims as well. Thank you.
Hannah, we have seen that depression has affected many of us to varying degrees since the onset of the pandemic. Mental health and self-care moved to the forefront of the conversation, with many states opening up and the hope that our lives can return to normal. What would you suggest leaders do to ensure mental health continues to be addressed rather than pushed to the back burner in the favor of normalcy?
Well, I was so excited in the pandemic that we started talking about mental health. I think it was long overdue. My own company started talking about it more and actually sponsored the app BetterHelp for all of us to use. So I would like to see corporate initiatives like that continue. I'd like to see our conversation within DC continue. I know that at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention with our DC chapter, we've been working on meeting with DC council members to talk about how we prepare our educators and our leaders within our DC schools to spot the warning signs in the teens and even the elementary students that we're seeing more and more depression in, especially our transgender youth, which are twice as likely to have attempted suicide in the district. So I would like to see us continue the conversation in the corporate world. I plan to continue the conversation in my work with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and as Miss DC. And I think we all can just take a look around us and say, are you okay? To our friends, to our family. It's really not that hard to just ask the question. And I would like everybody here to go home and do that today.
Aubrey, with the United States' military presence in Afghanistan coming to a close, the country is hopeful for a return to peacetime forces. However, the long engagement in the country has left a disconnect between those who have been affected by constant deployments and those with no connection to the military at all. How would you best address this disconnect and continue to foster support for our military veterans among those with no military affiliation?
Thank you. I think this is a very important issue, and peace in the Middle East is something that I care a lot about. I've visited the region, and as we have our troops leaving the region, I think it's important that we do support our veterans and those who have served. I think we have to provide them with resources after their service so they can have proper housing, education, jobs, and this is what I'm committed to. And as Miss DC, I will continue to partner with organizations like the United Services Organization. And I also plan to meet with First Lady Jill Biden. She is a big military advocate, and I would like to work with her on just engaging with these veterans, helping them when they return from their service, especially in Afghanistan, and just to promote this throughout my social impact initiative. Thank you.
Great job, ladies. And now we will transition into the conversation phase of this competition, and the judges will be wrapping up their scores. Okay, now we talk DC. I'm going to start with you, Alivia. Construction and infrastructure enhancements have been on high for the past decade in DC. Where would you focus the next development, and how would you minimize disruption?
You know, I take public transportation every single day, and I enjoy the metro and I enjoy the buses because we're saving our planet by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And I have to say that the one area I would like to see some more construction are the bus lanes, simply because right now they are already piloting whether bus lanes should be extended throughout the city, but I really support them being extended because it would speed up traffic. It would also help people get to their destination quicker, more efficiently, and help once again reduce those greenhouse gas emissions as more people are encouraged to take the bus system. I believe that there's no really way to prevent disruption, but what we can do is ensure that people in the community know what construction is going on, so that way if they need to take a detour, they can. And as Ms. DC and our platform, we are also able to help promote that information so it's getting out into the community and bringing more visibility to the Miss DC organization.
Jude, do you have something to add? You were giving me some
I
looks.
do. I felt very similarly. I know that one of the parts of the infrastructure plan is to actually create bus lanes on 16th Street, and I was all for that, and that was my number one thing. Except 2 months ago today, I slipped on the metro platform and knocked out my front tooth. So now the anti-slip tiles that they're going to put in the metro stations, that's my number one, because I could not believe that I fell. It was 10 o'clock at night. They're mopping the metro platform. A little painful, but thankfully we have a good dental sponsor, and here I am.
Hannah, did you have something to add?
I can you hear me?
I can hear you. The judges can hear you also.
Okay.
So
I was just going to say, Jude, I'm so sorry about your tooth. I have taken a tumble on those metro stairs myself, and it's not pretty, so I feel you.
Okay, Jude, we're going to carry on with you with a different question. What large-scale event would you lure to DC, and what would the lasting impact be on the city?
So February is Heart Month, and the American Heart Association does this beautiful red gown fashion show. And I want to bring that here, but partner with our sponsor, Signature, and do all red dresses and have all of the women here tonight and our future candidates in that show. And I want it to benefit the community here by having more AED devices in our schools, because that's life-saving. I mean, heart disease is the #1 killer of Washingtonians. And so if we can use that show to purchase those AEDs and to provide annual free heart screenings here in DC, I mean, that's the dream.
Aubrey, did you have something to add?
Yes, thank you. If I was to host any event in DC, I would do mine during May, which is Military Appreciation Month. Many people don't know that in DC, it's been proposed to have a Gold Star Family Memorial. This would honor every family and individual who has lost a loved one serving our country. And I would like to host a walk in honor of our Gold Star families and then use the funds to help finish creating the Gold Star Memorial in Washington, DC.
Okay. Andolyn, tell me about a formative experience you had in the city that made you realize this was home.
Wow, there's so many. But I spoke to the judges about this yesterday, and I would love to share this story with you all as well, because it really emphasizes the beauty of the DC community and the power that we hold when we come together. So the day before Miss DC, I was getting my hair done, and my hairstylist, Dallas, had several other women there as well. And upon talking to them, I shared a little bit about myself, me competing in this pageant, and they immediately became engaged and started calling all of their network to help me raise money for this organization. Oftentimes, the big question is asked, is Miss America relevant? Well, I think there's no greater story than that, because in just one day, I was able to raise $3,000 for this organization and also get our community engaged into understanding what we can bring and what we can provide. And that's what I look forward to doing as Miss DC, is continuing to empower our community to get engaged, get involved, and stay active.
Okay, we need to know what salon that was so we can go support them.
So my stylist does it outside of his home. So doesn't have a name, but his
Okay.
name is
It's a
Dallas.
CO.
He does the hair for Wendy of Real Housewives of Potomac, who also gave me a call the same day.
Okay, so it's you gotta know the know. Hannah.
Yeah, that's a great story, Andolyn. Thinking about that from my perspective, I think during some of the presentations I've given about suicide prevention, for example, when I give our Talk Saves Lives presentation and I'm teaching our community members how to spot the warning signs of suicide, it's after those conversations with our constituents of the district that it gets really interesting, because I'm kind of wrapping up the presentation and people approach me quietly and they're a little bit scared. They say, "Thank you so much for being here, because I lost my cousin to suicide, I lost my brother to suicide, or I even made an attempt a few years ago." And so they come forward and say that, but they not only share that with me, but they ask me to come and present for their organization within DC. And so through those connections, we've been able to spread the word throughout the district. And so every single person we encounter is open to talking about mental health. And I think that is what makes the district so amazing.
Hannah, first of all, Olivia, I was just realizing, like, I can't see Olivia's face. I don't know if she's given me, like, I'm ready to chime in. Did you want to add something?
I am ready. I would love to.
Okay, please.
And I have to say, I love both of your stories, because it's so important that we're invested in the community, that it's our home. But I will say that one thing that has really made DC home for me is working at the U.S. Department of Justice and the network that I've been involved with. Right now, my friends are so excited that I have been competing in Miss DC, and my friends at the White House have already said, we want to host a reception for you whenever you are crowned, possibly as Miss DC. And so the network that I have been able to build, the family that is here in DC, has just been amazing. And I'll even say, on a more granular level, the culture in DC, there's nothing like it. The go-go music, volunteering at Thurgood Marshall Academy in Anacostia, just being with the teens reminds me of the times I had in high school and how I needed that mentor to look up to. And I'm so excited that I've been able to serve as that mentor to them, because I see myself in them when I'm volunteering at their high school.
Hannah, you're up. From Black Lives Matters to the March for Our Life I'm sorry, let me rephrase. From Black Lives Matter to March for Life to the insurrection, what is the right way to protest in Washington, D.C.?
I think that we as Americans are given the right to protest, and that is so incredible because in so many places in the world, they don't have that opportunity. I think what we saw with the Black Lives Matter movement was peaceful protest. I empathized with that cause, and I felt so much when I saw them walking through the streets of DC. I think when we saw the insurrection, I was just taken aghast, honestly. I could not believe that was happening in this country, and that is not peaceful protest. I'm very disappointed in us, honestly, that we have gotten to this point, that we are so partisan, that we look at somebody from across the aisle and we say, how could we ever respect you, like you, talk to you, be in the same room with you? So I'm all for standing up for what you believe in, but that means that you're respectful to others. And that's it, really. Thank you.
Jude?
The thing that a little bit bothers me when people think about DC is that they don't think about this place as our home. They think about it as federal buildings and monuments, but they don't think about the community that lives here. And as someone who lives here, went to school here, and works here, pays taxes here, unrepresented, it bothers me when there's destruction of property or harm to other people. If you want to get loud, get loud. If you want to get angry, get angry. But as soon as you cross the line and you vandalize somebody's business, you harm another person, you've gone too far, because this is our home and you need to be respectful of it when you visit. Thank you.
Okay. Aubrey, what DC business were you sad to lose during the pandemic, and how has it affected how you spend your money?
Well, one of the businesses I frequent a lot on Capitol Hill is called Tortilla Coast. It's a great Mexican restaurant over there. And they were supposed to close down because of COVID. And there was a while there where they were kind of permanently shut down, and we thought we were going to lose them. This is a place a lot of our hardworking politicians and everyone on the Hill likes to frequent. And I was very sad about that. So a lot of my friends and I tried to go there as much as we could to give them some support. And thanks to all of that, they were actually able to reopen, which has been really exciting. So you are still able to go there today, and I'm very happy about that.
Tortilla Coast, great place.
It really is.
It's where I had chorizo in queso, and it was like mind-blowing. Like I had never had that before.
It's amazing. You have to try it if you haven't. So good.
Yeah, now I'm hungry. Anybody else want to weigh in on what they lost and where they're going to spend their money? Maybe cheese-related or not.
Yeah.
Olivia.
So I used to love going to this restaurant called Marvin's, and it's a minority-owned restaurant, but I just enjoyed the culture. And as a woman, being a minority, as an African-American minority, I just love the fact that I could support Black-owned businesses. And so I really enjoyed visiting there, and I'm so sad they closed, but I'm hoping maybe there'll be an opportunity for them to come back, that we can all support them at some point.
Sonia, I didn't get a chance to answer.
I was going to say, I'm like, Andolyn, what do you want to go back in time, or you
Yes,
guys-
can I?
Yeah,
Can I?
yeah,
Okay,
go ahead,
I'll do
go
it
ahead.
too. I'll do
it's
it
a
two for two.
conversation. Go ahead.
So one of my, I am in school, but at the same time, I love to have a good time. I love to have brunch. So one of my favorite spots with the best memories is actually Brixton. And they closed down. I know, Drew, right? And so it was super sad for me and my friends because we had a lot of amazing memories there. And so what it changed for me was the way that I looked at supporting restaurants, looked at supporting businesses. And I decided that in the pandemic, I was going to at least eat out at least once or twice a week to still be able to support. I did want to go back to Hannah's question, because I do feel like as somebody that does fight for our rights and freedoms, I take the right to protest very, very seriously. And I think that there is a huge difference in what we're talking about, where Black Lives Matter was fighting for the right to live, fighting for the right for justice. And so I wholeheartedly support that. Whereas I think, Jude made a beautiful point about the fact that there was a destruction of United States property when it came to the insurrection. And so I will fight all day, all night for everybody to have their opinion, for their right to protest, for their right to disagree, but I will never fight for anybody's right to destroy the place that I protect and love.
Thank you so much, ladies. What's really interesting about this phase of competition is that it is unscored. So the deepest, most conversational way of looking into your hearts and your minds is unscored, but I'm so glad that we can share it with all of you to see the depth that these women have and bring to the table, and the life they bring to the conversations that are not only happening in the city, but affect all of us around the country and the world. So ladies, keep up the great work. You're doing a wonderful job, not only representing your generation, but this class of contestants. So thank you very much, ladies. I appreciate you, and you can leave those microphones on your chair because we never discussed how you were gonna like exit with all this stuff in your hands. You've got masks, you've got chairs. Do we take the chairs away? No, we've got people for that. Thank you so much, ladies.